Good evening, everyone. We'll give everybody just a couple minutes here. Sorry, I'm running a little late. Just finished up with supper and getting the kids ready for bed. Don't know what happened there. All right, be right back. I'm just gonna grab something to drink here and we'll get started. A little bit of update. Oh. Did anybody else fish this week in this crazy cold weather? We can get started, I guess. Give everybody a little bit of an update on kind of what's happening with ice. First off, the wind has been relentless. I mean, that's really kind of been the story this week, wind and cold. Cold didn't really do anything as far as helping any of the bad spots that are on Poigan. It actually made things a lot worse with the wind. Uh, Even with 30 below wind chills and 5, 6, 7 below zero temperatures, the winds had played some serious havoc on those open spots that are over on the Pine, and then again right out in front of County Landing, and then over by Spruce. If people are unfamiliar with the lake, stop in. I did talk to Critter. Critter's going to have a map that he's going to have in his shop. I'm also going to kind of draw out a map here because I know we got Party on Poigan and stuff coming next weekend. And if this stuff, caps over and we get any bit of snow, you're not going to be able to see it. I mean, that's my biggest fear. Right now, you can see it plain as day. It is a giant area of open water off the south public launch. I don't know, just quarter mile to the west of Nofke's. You go off that launch, and if you literally go straight out or head towards Indian Point, you'll run straight into open water. That west wind has been blowing and blowing and blowing and creating white caps, and that just has been eroding the ice along the edges. But the other thing that it did, which was kind of surprising, there's a crack that runs east and west that runs right into where that open water is. And with that wind blowing, all that water east, that crack actually kind of like parted, and there's a slot of water going through, and it was eroding. Where the open water was, then there was solid ice, and then like 20 yards past the solid ice, there was another open hole starting to form because that it was undermining. It was going through the crack, undermining the ice, and creating another area, from the current from all that wind to the east of that open spot. And that's really kind of what's been happening is as that wind blows, it just keeps um, undermining the ice and opening up a new hole 20 yards away, and then finally, it all opens up, and then another vicious cycle, another 20 yards away, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So hopefully, this cold weather that we have coming, beginning of, or Sunday through Tuesday, and hopefully we don't have any wind, but it's looking like we're going to have wind too. Helps to start healing some of these spots. Because if we don't and it keeps going, pretty soon it's going to be right out in front of Nofke's, and nobody's going to be able to get out off that South Shore. There are vehicles driving. I'm getting a lot of questions as far as what kind of traffic. There's very little snow on the ice. It really is kind of blown off. And what's crazy is you've got areas that have that quarter inch of snow that is covering the whole ice. Then you've got areas that have no snow whatsoever, and then you've got areas that have little patches of snow that kind of little drifts that are scattered all over the place. So for snowmobile traffic, it's good. There are some spots that you can get some snow up into your chassis to cool and get some lubrication for your slides, but for the most part, that lake is pretty dry of snow and makes it pretty hard running a snowmobile. So, um, Wes, sounding old with that moaning and groaning. Um, Wes, I've been out on that out in this weather the last couple days. It's kind of beat me down a little bit. I'm really looking forward to some warmer fishing days ahead. Um, just a little tired is all, and kind of burning the candle at all ends. Get done fishing and come home and do a bunch of work on the computer and other stuff too. So it's not just fishing all day. And so back to that open water stuff. So that's the one spot that really has me concerned, is that right off the county landing, you've got some bad ice, and just if you're going to go off the county landing, you're going to want to literally go straight off the landing like 10 yards and head straight east and go around all that stuff. For the most part, you can actually see even where the water's seeping through the crack, that the current is kind of creating a bigger hole. So just use extreme caution and pray for some calm winds and super cold weather to start healing that. Now, the other spot that really grew the last few days is over on the west end, straight out of the Pine River. And it almost seems like if you look at a map of Poygan, from the Pine all the way down that contour, that South Shoreline contour, is where the majority of all the bad ice is. And that runs all the way to Spruce. Out in front of Spruce, obviously, you got the springs. But pretty much every morning, it's really easy to see where all the open water is in the morning, because the steams, you can see that just coming off the open water in the horizon, and it's pretty, but it's also pretty dangerous. So over on the west end, coming off of the Pine, it comes offshore roughly about a mile. That was yesterday. I don't know how much it grew. I will let you know tomorrow how much more it grew. And you cannot get from Captain's Cove over that open water to get into the main part of the lake. So if you're going to go off of Captain's Cove, the only spot you can really go is back in that little corner out in front of the pumpkin seed and the willow. And guys are getting some pike. Obviously, it's no secret spot. If you're looking to set some tip ups out, good spot to go set for some tip ups. And there's guys that are driving trucks out there and putting some big shacks and whatnot. And then again over to the east off of Spruce Lane, where the springs are, those are all pretty wide open as well, and the wind has really eroded that ice in a really long section. I have been staying away from that area, so I haven't gone over there to see exactly where or how much bigger that has gotten. So those are the main three areas that you really have to watch out for. The rest of the lake, guys, is beautiful. If you want to drive a vehicle off, I don't think I'd have any problems driving a half ton. Coming off of the Duck Inn and coming over. The only problem is there's really no place to cross the crack out in front of Nofke's. You have to go all the way to the west. If you go back in some of my posts, when that crack forms, that east-west crack forms out over the center of the lake, there is, if you keep driving and head east, past the tree line off of Nofke's, probably about another mile and a half or so. There's a pretty good area there that you could drive a vehicle across. That's where we've been crossing with the shacks and the UTVs and such. So there are some spots over there that are passable to get on either side of the crack. Just takes a little bit of more effort. So be cautious. For the most part, everything now is 11 to 13 inches. I have found a couple spots with 10, 11 inches, but for the most part, that lake is looking pretty good. And we keep going. It'll be interesting to see what happens here over the weekend. We're talking some serious cold coming again Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and that should only help things and be one of the best ice years we've had in quite some time. The other thing is that this ice is extremely clear. It's very hard, very strong, and it feels good to know that we're not having to worry about every 10 feet like we were last year, just running into random spots. So Poigan's setting up pretty good. Now Bago, I have not been out on Bago in a couple weeks here. Been pretty much concentrating over on Poigan, just where the shacks are right now until we've got a clear crossing and everything's all healed up and the cracks and everything, heal up on Bago. That's when we'll probably take the shacks and move them out there. It's nice to be able to get over some deeper water and chase some fish. I know they're getting some pretty good schools of fish over on the east shore, and we should be able to find some out in front of Oshkosh as well. But that's kind of the synopsis is what I got right now. Now over here in Waushara County, Marquette County, Waupaca County, all the small lakes, we had been out there. Believe it or not, there's less ice out on these deep lakes than what I even realized. Drilling around, even today, we had as much as 10, but probably on average about 8 to 9. So a little bit less ice. Again, super hard, super clear, crystal clear ice. Really good ice for getting UTVs and stuff. I wouldn't be driving any trucks or vehicles out on these lakes yet, but it's good to see. We got a good start. We get some more cold here in the next week or so, and we should be sitting pretty good for ice conditions. Wouldn't surprise me if they put the bridges out on Winnebago here, maybe mid to end of this week or this next week for vehicles, just because how everything is going. So, but remember, guys, no ice is ever 100% safe. Just use your gut. If you're not feeling it, stay away. And for me, that's why we're running the UTV. I just don't trust driving a big diesel truck out on the ice anymore. We've got the UTV with tracks, and that can get us around pretty much anywhere we want to go. As far as fishing goes, that's about all it was here the last couple days was fishing. These cold fronts and brutal conditions really makes it hard. One, just to get set up, but two, to be able to drive around and effectively try and find active fish made it really hard. With the 360 even, I had to carry a bucket with me with water in order to keep that thing thawed out and operational. So you drill a hole, drop the 360 down, see if there's anything there, and then immediately you have to put it into a bucket of water. But the bucket of water would freeze as quick as what we could, from hole to hole, it seemed like the bucket of water was freezing or getting slushy and causing the dial on the 360 to freeze up. So a little frustrating, trying to move around. It makes things a little difficult. And it's really cold is when the Bite Me boxes actually freeze up with charcoal inside. So even with the charcoal and packing them in real good, we were still getting the boxes to freeze up and get all slushy inside. So it's just really hard to fish, and we did the best we could. We had fish around us. I mean, that really wasn't the hard part. Once we found them, there were fish swimming around, but number one, they weren't really cruising. Typically when you see schools of fish on the 360, they're moving around pretty good. And for the most part, the last few days, the fish were just sitting still, or they were kind of all spread out. They weren't really schooled up. And we got missed a few on jig rods, caught a few on jig rods, missed some on tip ups, caught some on tip ups. But it just wasn't a real active bite. They were pretty much in the um, uh, I don't know what you even want to call it, just a funky mood. And then on top of that, you've got crystal clear blue skies and a full moon. So full moon, if anybody knows, fishing full moon phase through the ice on clear days, and no snow on the ice. That moon is bright, and those fish are feeding all night long. So you might get a bite window, a couple bite windows throughout the day, and you got to make sure you capitalize on those, because once those bite windows are gone, those fish are pretty much lockjaw, tight-lipped, and not really feeding actively. So looking forward to the next few days here. We've got some groups the next couple days, and then Saturday we've got a big group of guys, and I got my buddy Justin coming down from Green Bay to help out, and he's been, yeah, Chris. We had about a 4 foot sturgeon. We landed the other day too, and that was a lot of fun. Put up a pretty good battle. It it's gonna be warm. That's gonna be the nice thing. So with that, just remember, when we have this really cold weather, it builds ice fast. And what happens when ice builds is it grows and grows and grows, and then all of a sudden you get that first warm up day, and it's going to make that ice expand, and there's going to be some popping, there's going to be some cracking, and you just got to be careful and pay attention to what's happening, because those are the days. Especially, it looks like Friday could get into the 40s. If that happens, a good chance the cracks that are out there are probably going to open up. If not, develop some new ones. So just keep an eye out. Make sure you're staying in contact with some of the bait shops and the guys that are out on the ice watching it daily, and just be careful, because we've all been there, where a new crack opens up, or if it's windy and it blows the ice to one side of the lake or the other, and then you get stranded and have to do a whole bunch of finagling to try and get back to where you want to go. So just be cautious, be careful, and we'll get through the next 2 days, and then Saturday it looks like the temperature starts to fall in the evening, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday it is going to be frigid again. So for the guys that were hoping for some cold weather for some ice making, we're getting it. This would be nice if it wasn't so cold that it makes it super hard to fish. But yeah, it's been good. We've had last week we caught just a pile of walleyes. It was incredible fishing. Tip ups, jigging, it really didn't make a difference. And then obviously with these crazy weather patterns on full moon, it's going to slow down a little bit. And it's always that few days before, few days after full moon that is tough. And we should be getting back into the good bite again here by by the weekend. Hopefully it starts tomorrow. Um, Let's see. As far as panfish and stuff goes, we're out perching today, and we'd see schools. There was one time on the Mega Live, the school was about 50 feet long and about 2 to 3 feet thick of fish, and they did not want to eat. We were getting a couple here and there, but we splattered boxes all over the place, hoping that school would swim around and we could pick some fish up here and there, but they just weren't eating. Watching them on the scope and on the Mega Live, and they'd swim through, and you might pick one or two off here and there, and we'd have little spurts. It would seem like we'd get you could watch one box and then another one, and then they might skip one, and then they might jump to the next one, and that's pretty much what was happening all day long. But even at that, the fish were just a lot of times just bumping the minnows, or they weren't fully committing, either sucking them in and spitting them back out, or taking 2 or 3 inches of line out, and that was about it. So definitely in a funk of a bite, but it's full moon week, and unfortunately, the one thing that I've always told everybody is I cannot control the weather. That's one thing that we have to deal with as fishermen, and for the people that fish, they understand that weather does play a big factor into catching, and all you can do is try, be out there, put your time in, and some days you get lucky, other days it's just a grind, and we definitely ground them out the last few days. Let's see. So Chris is saying, or just do away with the wind, 100%. Um, Brian said, thanks for doing this. Keep everyone informed. You're welcome, Brian. It's least I can do, I guess. I hate to see anybody, get hurt or lose equipment or go swimming. Been there, done that, and it's no fun. It's scary that we've got, a really, or three big areas of open water right now, and we know it's going to probably freeze at some point in time, but it's not going to be as good as what everything else is around it. And what's really scary is the fact that it's right by one of the main launches that everybody goes on and off the lake. That's what's going to bother me more so than anything. Now, granted, if there is a good side of things to it, it's only in like 3 to 4 feet of water. So if somebody does go in, just stand up. Stand up, get out, and you're going to get wet. Your machine might go down, but we're not. It's not in a very deep area of the lake, so that is one, I guess, positive thing, and should be crazy. Ah, I don't know if anybody's seen the message. I did find a rod and reel combo out on Poigan. It's not a very expensive one, but hey, I know how it is losing gear. I've had that happen to me, and we work hard for our money, and just want to make sure it gets back to the rightful owner. So if you did lose a rod and reel combo out on Poigan, I do have it. Send me a message. Let me know, what it is, and I will get it back to you. I promise. I do have it with me in my rod rack in the UTV, so I can drop it off at Nofke's, or carry it with me and meet up with you and hand it off. But spread the word if you know anybody that lost something. Please help me try and find the rightful owner. Now, we did have the Watoma High School fishing team was scheduled to fish on Monday, but due to the extreme cold, that has been postponed, canceled. I do believe Mott, or the chief of police, was going to reschedule that and let everybody know, and I will stay in contact with everybody for that. Let's see. More questions. Jared says, looks like I'm seeing reports of more white bass on Bago. I haven't been out yet to confirm. So before last week here, I was on a really good white bass bite out on Poigan, and I got off of it before the weekend, and I really haven't gone back to find the white bass just because we've been targeting the walleyes, and where typically where the walleyes have been, we haven't been seeing many whiteys. I know some guys were getting some mixed bags in the groups. But for the most part, we have been targeting the walleyes. We've been getting some perch mixed in, some pike mixed in, but primarily just been catching walleyes. So I haven't really tried much for the white bass. I want to start chasing, hopefully these perch on Poigan kind of start schooling up a little bit too. Typically, it's always around the end of January where we start to see a few perch. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, and obviously, the walleyes. Hey, there's Coot. What's happening, Coot? Um, let's see. Out on Bago, I do know. Yes, as far as the white bass go, there's been a pretty good school of bass over on the East Shore. I have some buddies over there that have been whooping up on them pretty good. And, they're starting to get some nice perch mixed in, and even right out in front of off of Merritt, a couple miles. Typically in the same spots we fish every single year, 2 to 3 miles straight out. Up to the north a little bit, right off the water tower. There's a little bit of a school there, and then obviously a lot of fish down by Jesuit and off of Long Point and such too. There's been some good perch down there. So guys are starting to want to venture out on Bago. Those would be some of the key areas that I would probably start looking at, and I'm excited to get out there. I haven't been out there, last couple of years with the crappy ice conditions. It's been tough to get out and fish safely, and really looking to get out there and get back on Bago. It's a lot more fun out there than it is on Poigan. Deeper water, and it's definitely better to get some hook sets and actually reel in some fish versus set the hook and the fish is out of the hole already. Hey, Xander. Xander's in the house watching. Him and Steph were doing fantasy football. My little football guru is going to try and do some fantasy football stuff here with Steph. Never was my thing, but Steph was always big into it too. And those two guys, they were sitting there drafting and asking me questions about players. And Xander's pretty up on that. I enjoy listening to him when he's talking all the stats and all these players and how good they are and what they did and everything else. And definitely his jam. So hopefully they can do good with their fantasy football. I have a feeling I'm going to have to start watching more football with him, which is okay. I don't mind it. Let's see. Sunday, I believe Sunday and Monday, we are postponing trips as well, or canceling trips just due to the cold. Again, we can go out and sit in shacks, but when it's that cold and windy, there really isn't much you can do. Really, you're sitting put, and it's very very hard on equipment. Actually, darn near blew up my UTV yesterday with how cold it was. My breather tube must have been froze. Didn't know this at the time, and after I talked to some guys and did a little bit of research on YouTube University, the breather tube on a Yamaha is known to build up condensation and then freeze. And what your PCV valve does is allows that pressure to get out of the system. And what happened is just before a meeting, I had to jump on a call, and I pulled my UTV over, and it was still idling. And I look, and there's oil spraying everywhere. And I opened up the box to look at the motor, and my dipstick is gone. And there's oil just spraying out of the dipstick hole. So it built up enough pressure and blew the dipstick right out the hole and sprayed a bunch of oil. thought maybe, okay, it was just, forgot to push the dipstick in a little, or not far enough when we checked the oil levels, and it was my fault. So I put it back in, tried to clean everything up best I could, and drove around and got to the next spot, and oil's dripping all over the place again. This time I couldn't find my dipstick. So that's when I started freaking out a little bit, wondering what the heck is going on. Initial thoughts right away were, holy cow, there's all kinds of oil everywhere. I blew the motor, and did a little bit of research and realized that just the breather tube was icing up, clogging up, and couldn't breathe properly, and then just built up enough pressure in the crankcase to blow the dipstick right out. So if anybody that has a Yamaha, they're notorious for this, I guess, and Yamaha really doesn't have a fix. One thing I did find is that some of the guys on their own put a little slit with a razor blade, a very fine razor blade, put a slit in that breather tube, so that way there, if it builds up enough pressure, it's going to blow out that slit versus blow out your dipstick and make a complete mess of your machine. So my experience hopefully can help save somebody's motor. I was lucky. I got to shore and realized that I didn't have any oil left in the machine. Ran to town, had to get some oil, and we got the machine back off the ice safely, and everything seems to be fine now. I thawed everything out and kind of blew everything out with some air to try and get rid of any condensation that was left in there, and don't really know what else to do. Hopefully Yamaha fixes it for future machines. But anyway, let's see. Is there truck traffic off of Boom Bay? Jake, I know they're driving off the Duck Inn. I would assume they're driving off of Boom Bay. I have not been back in there. I drove over to Duck, and a lot of guys have been coming off of there and driving over towards the mouth of the river. They've been, kind of fishing that whole area out in front of the cane beds, and lots of truck traffic, and there's wheelhouses and all kinds of vehicle stuff out there the past few days. So sorry I can't be more exact on that, but I would assume you'd be able to get off of Boom Bay. Jared, are the cracks still an issue? Yeah, they really are. The big crack that the tree line runs out from Nofke's to a wooden bridge, and really that's the only spots to cross in that general area. But again, on my waypoints that I posted here last week, way to the west, there's an area that's all flat. You can drive over that and then come back around if you want. If you're in a vehicle, who cares? It's about a mile. You're staying nice and warm. You just got to go to the west, look for the flat ice. You'll cross the crack. It's actually pretty smooth. We've been driving over the top of it. I did have some other vehicles follow me and drive over the top of it here earlier this week, and we've been pulling our shacks across there too. So not a problem to get over towards the west a little bit further. Just with vehicles, that new ice that froze over by Indian Point still only has about 10 inches. I don't know if I'd test that yet. Probably fine. I mean, with a half ton, I'm sure you'll be fine. But you're not going to catch me driving a diesel or anything big out there yet. I'll wait until we got 18, 20 inches ice before I start doing that. How has everybody else been doing? What are your guys' reports? I think Friday Otter might put truck bridges out. That's coming from Coot. So there you go. Good chance, if it's not Friday, I'm sure it'll be next week sometime. The cold weather has definitely helped build a lot of ice, and the fact that we don't have any snow whatsoever has been really, really nice. And not only that, but once vehicles can start traveling around out there, guys, it's like a skating rink. It is so smooth. You've got a couple little snow drifts and on Poigan, You've got some areas that have a bunch of shove ice or busted up ice that all froze together. Those are some pretty rough spots. But all, just small areas, stuff you can actually avoid if you really want to. It would be nice to get some snow just to smooth things out and insulate the ice. I will say this, that if you are out fishing, the jig bite has been kind of tough. If you're on clear ice, it's really hard to get these fish to come in. We've been watching them on, on the live scopes, the Mega Live, the 360s, and they don't like the shadows and the noise and the motions and everything that they're seeing. So if we find a spot that has, white ice or some snow patches, and we're trying to fish on top of those, just for the spooky factor. The fish really have been extremely spooky. Now with the tip ups, I know that to be true because typically walleyes don't peel line out, out of a tip up at 100 miles an hour. And what's crazy is we'll have our boxes set up on, bare patches of ice, and you walk over to the box, and the minute you get close, all of a sudden you'll start hearing, the spool just zinging. You open up the lid, and the fish is taking off at 100 miles an hour. Walleyes typically don't do that, but they're being spooked because we're walking right on top. They can see us, they can hear us, and when you're only in that 3 to 5 feet of water, those fish get pretty spooked, and it's been definitely noticeable. And it does seem that when we're setting out our tip ups, always our furthest boxes are the ones that are getting bit the most. So just a little word of advice. Maybe try and just stay super quiet. Set your tip ups or whatever out a little bit further than what you usually would, and just leave them be. And I think you'll find yourself, you're going to have a few more bites. Let's see here. I got some messages coming through. Let's see who's messaging me. Oh, sorry, just some of the kids' stuff. Um, oh, what else is happening? I really don't know much about it. I'm pretty drained with the cold weather. It sucks a lot of energy out of you, and it's I'm ready for it to be warm. Only for a couple of days though, and then we get to fight the cold again. But I think Sunday, Monday, I will be sitting in front of a fireplace by my house. Um, let's see. Boy, I really don't have much more. If you guys don't have any questions, kind of a short night, just kind of. That sounds good, Xander. We got Xander a fly tying kit for Christmas, and he's all excited to tie hair jigs and flies, and he is my little fishing machine, and I can't wait to teach him the trade, and have some child labor to tie flies for me. Xander, that sounds good, bud. We'll tie some flies Sunday, Monday. Um, oh boy. I will say this, if you guys are looking, looking to fish in this cold weather, one thing that is become, and it always has, I guess, it's been probably 10 years now or better, since I've been using Rick and Terry's boxes, the tip ups. For a guide or even just as a fisherman, when you get into these cold days, there really isn't anything better as far as just being able to set something out and not have to worry about going and cleaning out your holes every 30 seconds. Put some charcoal in and excuse me, go back, sit inside a warm shack and watch out the window. And what was crazy is, I fished in some really, really cold days over the past 10 years with those boxes. And there's only been maybe a handful of times where the charcoal just can't keep up. But for the most part, like, today, if you're in zero, zero with not a whole lot of wind, even 10 below with not a whole lot of wind, that charcoal does pretty good and keeps things open, keeps things thawed out, and really does help you catch fish. So if you are looking, check them out. It's the Bite Me Box Tip Ups, Rick and Terry, and I believe they still have discount code if you use, I think, Bluegill 10. Bluegill 10, I'll type it in here. That will get you, I believe, $10 off for the tip ups. There. I want to congratulate Justin, him and his boy. Those guys were up in Green Bay here this past weekend fishing, and they got a couple of 2 pound or 2 pound plus perch. I believe Justin's kid got one that was like 2.38 pounds or something, 16 inches. That's world class. So congrats to him and I know a couple of his clients as well. Got into some absolute giants, and it's good to see that the Green Bay perch population is coming back. Not only numbers wise, but the size of these fish are just incredible. Really is a special place up there. It's just too bad that the word gets out and 400, 500 guys go and fish these small areas and spook the fish out of there. So if you're not first, you're last. But the guys that got in there right away, got in there first, really put a whooping on some giants. So good job, boys, and good pitchers. Let's see. Mason asked, do you use anything to keep batteries warm so they don't die in super cold temps? Specifically, yeah, you have to, Mason. The So if we got the shacks around, I've got the heaters, either the built-in heaters on the hard shelters or in the Eskimos and the portables, wherever the heater is, like even in the hubs. We'll set the heater down, and then if there's a mesh pocket up above, I just keep the batteries in there. On the hard sides or the big shacks, we've got shelves above the heaters, and I put the propane bottles and the heater or the batteries above the heater on those shelves, and it keeps everything pretty toasty. That's pretty important because, yeah, on these super cold days, we were struggling. We were getting, a few holes, and then you could tell the batteries would get cold, and we'd have to go swap out batteries. And it's always good to have, two batteries with you, one that you can keep warm, and then one you can drill with. And then once the one that you're drilling with gets cold, just swap them out and just keep cycling them through the day. That way, there you're not putting all the stress on one battery too. But yeah, it is a challenge. That's one of the drawbacks to electric augers, is the fact that when it gets this cold, that bitter cold, you do have to keep the batteries warm. Super important. And if Ion makes a really nice battery bag that you can throw some hand warmers in, that works really good. Even just a small little igloo cooler, or a little soft-sided cooler, something small. Put a couple hand warmers in there, and and keep your batteries in there. Otherwise, too, I usually take a battery and just once I'm done drilling, just shove it underneath my jacket. It kind of pinches where my bibs come up, fits right in there, and I just keep everything as warm as I possibly can. You're not going to be able to keep it perfect, but definitely helps. Yeah, Kyle said he had the Bite Me boxes at Devil's Lake 2 weeks ago, minus 25, and they kept the holes from freezing. You're not going to do that with any other tip up. I mean, they work. The sensitivity factor, the fact that They keep everything thawed out and warm. Your line, thawed out. Your reels thawed out. And they just do such a great job in extreme cold. They're definitely worth it if you're a diehard fisherman and you feel the necessity to be out in extreme conditions like that. Probably worth your investment to pick up a couple of the boxes and put a couple out and jig in the shack, or just I like it once we can drive out, and if it's just the kids and I or whatnot, it's easy just to drive out, grab some boxes, put some charcoal in, and sit in the truck, keep the truck running, stay nice and warm, and just watch tip ups. Pretty easy fishing, and when it's that cold, it's really all you can do anyway. Well, I need to get off here and get stuff ready for tomorrow, regroup, thaw a bunch of stuff out, put everything on the chargers, and get some propane ready, and take care of some bait, and get back out and do it all over again tomorrow. So that's what I know, guys. Good luck this weekend. And no Packers to watch, no Vikings to watch. So nothing to really worry about there. Uh, Hopefully, I guess at this point, all I can do is root for Detroit. um, that's it. Wish everybody good rest of the week. Happy weekend, and we'll catch you guys next week. Stay warm, and please share any reports you got, or any pictures or anything that you guys want to share. Please share it with us. It's always good to see how everybody else is doing as well. So um, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week. And if anything does change, or I see any other, ice conditions or something like that, I'll try and give you guys updates, daily. So just stay tuned, and obviously we'll, keep stuff going on Facebook and whatnot. So that's all I can do for you. Have a good night, everybody. See you next week. Bye.